Hello and welcome to another video from the Silver Citizen. Remember, if you like what you see, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss a video. Now let's get into it. I'm going to do this one a little bit different. I'm going to do a double header. First I'm going to talk about the Chelsea game. City won 2-0 and went into the fourth round of the Carabao Cup. And then the final game of the season before the World Cup starts. City got beat 2-1 at Brentford. We'll talk about both. So it took a while to come back to me, but not just the result, but the performance against Brentford. I really wasn't interested in doing any video. And I saw the Chelsea game on Saturday morning just before the Brentford game. I was going to do them both after the game, but yeah. Then I watched the game against Brentford. Anyway, let's get into it. First half, the Chelsea game. City won 2-0. The first half, I don't think it was the worst performance I've ever seen from City. That came a week later on in the week. But it wasn't the best. The slow passing was a bit slow. We weren't really getting in behind them. There was a few good individual performances, a few poor individual performances. But as a team, we really weren't that great. I mean, defensively, when Chelsea were on us on the break, they looked like they were going to score every time. We were far too open. Defensively, Chelsea didn't have that much of the ball, they didn't have that many attacks, but every time they got a ball and went forward, they looked capable of scoring. And City, when they got the ball, it was all slow, it was pedestrian, there was no quick fire break, there was nothing to really get at them. And it felt to me like a lot of the City players were thinking to themselves, the World Cup squads are getting announced soon, I don't want to get injured just before it. So they weren't really putting out, that kind of act that you want as a fan. For me personally. We had a couple of good chances. Alvarez had a good chance that went just wide of the post. If memory serves, I think Gundogan had a decent chance. Might have been someone else. Like I said, it's a while since I've seen the match. And it wasn't that great of a match for me to watch it again. But definitely the best chances of the game in that first half especially came to Chelsea. And if it wasn't for Ortega Moreno, we'd have been going in at half time, in my opinion, 2 or 3-0 down. They had chances that you'd think they should be scoring, and they didn't do. Good saves by Ortega Moreno, which kept City in the game. And you're thinking at half time, Pep's going to rattle a few cages, they're going to come out and they're going to be up and at them. And it kind of worked. For the first 5 minutes, I thought we were very good in the second half. We got the free kick, which obviously Riyad Mahrez scored from, put us in the ascendancy. And our performance for me started to get a little bit better after that. The confidence that we got from scoring the goal. Obviously, Chelsea still had chances. Ortega Moreno was still stopping them. And then City made it 2. Alvarez on the break, a brilliant ball over to Mahrez, who had a shot, Mendy parried it, and there was Alvarez to slip it into an empty net and 2-0. And then I'm sure, as most City fans were thinking, as well as myself, game over. I mean, obviously when I was watching it, I knew it was game over, but I knew the score. I was at work. I stuck the Google thing on and looked at it at half time, and it was 0-0. I'm thinking, alright, yeah. then I stuck it on. Can't remember how long it's gone, but Alvarez had made it 2-0 probably about 2 or 3 minutes before, and I thought to myself, game over. 2-0, we're in the next round. But actually, as I was watching it, Chelsea still had a couple of chances that they could have scored from, and they did end up putting the ball in the back of the net. The linesman stuck his flag up. I believe it was because the ball went out of play, but it could have also been for an offside, because I think the person that scored it, or had the shot, had made his way back onto the pitch, and when he's making his way back onto the pitch, the ball had been hit. Obviously, then he's in an offside position. But anyway, the linesman stuck his flag up. I remembered at the time why it happened. Can't fully remember now. But the linesman stuck his flag up. Goal was disallowed, and City seen the game out. We got put into the fourth round. It wasn't the greatest game, if I'm honest. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the greatest, and it was job done. Like I said, there was a few good performances. This is going to surprise me, but it might surprise also a few others. But for me, I thought our best outfield player was Jack Grealish. Obviously, the best player in a City shirt was Moreno in that first half, and I think Moreno, should have got man of the match. I don't know if he did. As soon as the full-time whistle went, I turned the City Plus thingy off. But I think he should have got man of the match. But you can't complain. A win's a win, and that is exactly why we bought Ortega Moreno, to stop balls going into the back of the net when he's called upon. So job done. Then the draw got made. Obviously, we got drawn at home against Liverpool. Do I think we'll win? I have no idea at this moment in time. If there was no World Cup happening, I'd say yes. And I'd say yes because we're at home. And we have a decent record at our ground against Liverpool. Yes, they've won on occasion. But, even with Klopp there, we've won more times at our ground than Liverpool have. And if it ends in a draw, as it did do last season, and it's got a very good chance of happening again this season, in the Carabao Cup I'm talking about, then whether we'll go through or not remains to be seen. They've got a goalie that's decent with penalties. We had one with Caballero. We had one with Claudio Bravo. Edison's save record on penalties isn't great. Ortega Moreno, I haven't seen him with penalties, so I have no idea about that. But if there was no World Cup, I'd be confident of us going through to the quarter-final. Because there is a World Cup, it totally depends. Now, we've got 4 days from the World Cup final, obviously, to the Carabao Cup, and 5 days from the 3rd and 4th place playoffs. So if we get a lot of our players in the semi-finals, then they're not going to be playing against Liverpool. I don't think. I think it'll be the players that haven't gone to the World Cup. I think it'll be the players that reaches at the very latest stage, the quarter-final, that'll be playing. So it depends on the team we've got. it also depends on if any of them get an injury. Now we've got 16 players, Liverpool have got 7 going to the World Cup. Obviously Liverpool have got Alisson and Fabinho for Brazil. They've got Van Dijk for Holland, Nunes for Uruguay, Henderson and Trent for England, and Kanate for France. So you've got 16. You know, Edison's going with Brazil. Laporte, Stones, Diaz, Aka, Akanji, Rodri, Calvin Phillips, Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, Kyle Walker, Alvarez, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, João Cancelo. So it's, you know, it totally depends, really, on who gets as far in the World Cup, who's going to be available, if there's any injuries. And we've got more of a chance of putting out basically a youth team than Liverpool have. So, who knows? Who knows? But we're in the draw, we're there, and we're at home. We have a good record at home. So, it's a weird one having a World Cup in the middle of the season. But who knows? Now on to Brentford. Now, for me, this was the worst performance of our season by a long shot. You know, within 5 minutes, Brentford could have been 3-0 up. If it wasn't for Edison, they would have been. City, I don't know whether they walked onto the pitch asleep, not really up for it. I don't know whether they walked onto the pitch thinking to themselves that this is the last time they could get with getting an injury and stopping them going to the World Cup. Or what? I really don't know what the problem was, but we were asleep. Brentford were all over us. They kept on getting the same ball over and over again. One pump down from the goalkeeper to the attack. And no matter how many times they did it, we couldn't handle it. Defending was atrocious. The midfield was non-existent. The attack was no movement. It was crap. As a performance wise, it was crap. The first, I'd say, half an hour. City's kids would have been winning. You know, the EDS or the under-23s or whatever you want to call them. For the first 25-30 minutes, City's first team wouldn't have been beating them. And City's first team have got the better players, obviously. But, no, there is no hunger, there is nothing. Then we started to get a bit more into the game. Really, I mean, we weren't really creating anything. You know, most of our shots were coming from outside the box. You know, I think it brought up at one point shots. Brentford had 7 with 5 on target. City had 20 with 2 on target. Pathetic. As far as shooting's concerned, absolutely pathetic. And most of it was because we couldn't get behind them, and we were just taking pot shots from about 35 yards out, going iron wide, and not troubling anyone. Let alone an actual, professional goalkeeper. It wouldn't have troubled the goalie I've got for my under-10s team. And if a shot's too hard, he'll move out of the way and let it in the net in a minute. Got to toughen him up a bit. But there wouldn't have been troubling him, the shooting. And considering the fact that it came up in the second half, that, and City had already scored one, so one of the shots on target hit the back of the net. But for the first half hour, it was bobbins. Like I said, for the second 15 minutes, we sort of gradually got into the game and started to play a little bit better. And scored a goal which was a fantastic strike by Phil Foden. Our fella smashed it right into the roof of the net, and I'm thinking to myself, right, we'll go on and win this now. Now, going on about the penalty incidents. First off was the handball incident. The referee and the linesman both gave handball. They gave a free kick. And I'll be honest with you. When it's shown the replay and it stopped it, I wasn't 100% certain that his hand was in the box. I know his feet were outside the box. I wasn't 100% on whether the hand was in the box or on the line or just outside the line. So, for me, I have no complaints or whatever about that with VAR. The De Bruyne incident, he went down. The player had no intention of playing the ball, just taking out De Bruyne. The only reason I can think of why that wasn't given, other than the fact that everyone had been pissing and moaning about the fact that De Bruyne got a penalty because a Fulham player clipped his ankle and he went down. Now, was it enough of a contact? Was it strong enough to put him on the floor? Probably not. But there was contact, he went down, everyone pissed and moaned about it. So the next time he goes down, no one's going to give a free kick, or a penalty, should I say. Now, like I said, it wasn't really a game I'd want to watch again, or anything like that. Neither of these two were. And I think mentally, the players, although Pep said that he didn't see it, actions speak louder than words, and the actions of the games spoke to me like a lot of the players were thinking to themselves, I don't want to get injured this close to a World Cup. Now, that might not be true, but that's the way I saw it when I looked at it. But I didn't actually pause it to find out. That's why I'm talking about that. But I didn't pause it to find out. So I'm probably 50-50 on whether the ball was actually out of the pitch and already gone behind by the time contact was made with De Bruyne. Now, if the ball's already out of the pitch by the time contact gets made, then it can't be a penalty. For me, it's already a goal kick before contact's been made, so it can't be a penalty. However, we should have had one penalty in the first half. A foul on Laporte. He got manhandled and dragged to the floor. All day long a penalty. I don't care what anyone says. I think personally, the referee was looking at Ireland because there was a bit of, tugging and, handbags with Ireland. Wasn't a foul with Ireland, but I think the fact that that was happening, the referee put his attention to that and was concentrating on the Ireland thing and seeing if, personally, seeing if there was a foul, which there wasn't. But behind Haaland was Laporte, and there was a foul. But obviously VAR looked at it and thought, hang on a minute here, we can't be giving penalties. Which has happened quite a bit with Brentford recently. Nottingham Forest, the previous game, had 3 penalty shouts. Brentford had 1. Brentford got their penalty. Forest didn't get any of their 3. And quite frankly, there was no difference between any of the 4. I don't think any of them was a penalty. But VAR determined that the referee got it right with the 3 for Forest, but with Brentford, go and have a look. Proving once again that VAR only tells the referee to go over and look if it's a foul for the person they want to win the game. Which is why I put down on Facebook, it would be interesting to see what happens if a Brentford player gets manhandled in the box like it's just happened with Laporte. Now, if the referee had saw the Laporte incident and didn't give it, then he's just as useless as the VAR. But I don't know if he was looking at that or he was looking at Haaland. But it was a foul on Laporte, and it was a foul that, if it happened in rugby, there'd be a free kick. If it happened in American football, there'd be a flag on the play. The quarterback could have threw the ball and it could have been 50, 60 yards above the player's head. But if he was holding him like that, a flag would have gone on the play and it'd have been a 15, 20, whatever yard penalty for pass interference. If a linebacker had grabbed hold of someone on the way to the quarterback, it'd be a flag for holding. This was a flag. This was a foul on Laporte, and it should have been a penalty, but it wasn't. And then the start of the second half, City started the second half a lot better. Still had problems with obviously the long ball and defending that, and stopping Tony getting the ball and bringing the players in, or running onto the flick-ons, or getting the flick-ons, or whatever the case may be. We weren't dealing with the long balls that Brentford were presenting us with, and we need to do better with that. But again, start the second half, 5 minutes in, we should have had another penalty. This time with Haaland. Haaland was dragged to the floor exactly like Laporte was, no penalty. In the same instance, Laporte was on the floor with his head bleeding. Me personally, I don't think that was the Laporte one was actually a foul, but I do think the Haaland one was. Yes, his head was bleeding. I don't think he got pushed. I didn't see a push on Laporte. I don't remember seeing a tangle of legs or anything like that. But I could be wrong. I was more interested in looking at Haaland getting dragged to the floor and thinking, why is that not a foul? But I think Laporte slipped. In fact, my honest opinion, I think Laporte slipped, and the Brentford player that was in front of him headed the ball, and when Laporte slipped, he headed his elbow. I don't think it was a foul, but I do think it was a foul, and I do think the referee should have been told to go and look. But again, just like Forest with Brentford, VAR determined we can't have City getting a penalty this week because everyone went up shit creek that City got a penalty against Fulham. You should only referee the game you're refereeing, not trying to rectify a mistake that everyone told you made the week before. But anyway, second half was pretty much the same as the first. We couldn't get in behind them. We weren't really putting the Brentford goalie under any pressure. Edison was being called into action time and time again. If it wasn't for Edison, it wouldn't have ended 2-1 to Brentford. It had probably ended about 6 or 7. And when they actually did get it past Edison, the one time, other than obviously the 2 goals. De Bruyne there to clear it off the line. But our best player by a country mile in both games was the goalkeeper. A country mile. Now hopefully when they come back from the World Cup, they'll only be focusing on City and not a World Cup. And that's the impression I got from these 2 games, that these players, because it was so close, it was 4 days, 5 days, something like that, before they were going with the international team, if they were picked. When it came to the Chelsea game, they had 4 or 5 days before they were flying off with the internationals. And when you get into that sort of area, you don't like it, but I can understand that some players playing for their country, playing in a World Cup for their country, is the pinnacle for them. It is the pinnacle. It's what they would have grown up dreaming about. I mean, the under-10s team that I'm coaching at the minute, I have no doubt that their dream, if they get to play professional football, is to one day represent England. I have no doubt about that. They obviously want to play for the team they support as a kid, but they also want to represent the country. And the fact of the matter is, the only City fan we've got the City fans that we've got really in our team is Foden, Rico Lewis, Cole Palmer. Sergio Gomez said he supported City when he was growing up because of his brother and the fact that his brother was a huge David Silva fan. Alan said he grew up supporting City, obviously because of his dad. But Alan didn't have a good game against Brentford. Gomez had a decent game against Chelsea, but no, Alan and Gomez, Alan definitely wasn't going to the World Cup. Gomez probably knew he wasn't going to be getting picked. Rico Lewis and Cole Palmer would have known that they weren't going to get picked. So the only real one that's a City fan before thinking about playing for the country, Phil Foden. I don't like it. Obviously, as a City fan, think it to yourself, you can think about your country in the World Cup once the Brentford game's over with, and Pep might be thinking the same thing, but I got the impression watching these 2 games that they were more interested in not getting this close to the World Cup and picking up an injury, forcing them not to be able to play in the World Cup, than they were about getting 3 points. It was more along the lines of, if we get knocked out of the Carabao Cup, we got less games to play. If we go through, great, but we got a bit bigger of a respite period if we get knocked out, and if we get through, then we still got a chance of winning the trophy when we get back. And with Brentford, it was like, it's only 1 game. Win, lose or draw, the most we're going to be is 5 points behind Arsenal, and the title's still basically in our hands. If we beat Arsenal home and away, we're a point above them type of attitude. But if I get injured, then I'm not going to be able to represent my country at the World Cup. I don't like it, but I can understand it. I might be wrong, but from watching these two games, that is the impression I got of their mental state. Something that you don't really get if there's something on the line at the end of the season. You know, if it was a World Cup, say, in the summer just gone, I don't see the City players thinking to themselves against Aston Villa, win, lose, or draw, I don't want to get injured for the World Cup. They'd have wanted to go and win the Premier League. I have every belief in that. But I think they thought to themselves, it's 5 points if we lose and Arsenal win. We've got 24 games left to play. We've got more than enough time to get that back. Anyway, I might do a video about England before we play on Monday. If I do, see you on Monday. If I don't, I'll see you just before Christmas. Until then, whenever it is, adios amigos.